President-elect Joe Biden is moving forward with the transition of power.
Tonight, he announced his first major cabinet appointment, his chief of staff.
This as President Trump still shows no signs of conceding.
KCAL9 political reporter Tom Wade is live in the newsroom with all the latest developments. Tom.
Hi there, Pat and Juan. Well, tonight President Trump remains defiant and in denial. He made one public appearance today, but did not speak with the media. And so far, top leadership in the Republican Party is remaining silent. President-elect Biden is moving forward with or without a concession from Trump. Tonight, President-elect Joe Biden announced Ronald Klain would serve as his chief of staff. He served in the same role when Biden was vice president. Klain also served as a so-called Ebola czar for the Obama administration. Meanwhile, President Trump tonight still in denial, posting nostalgic campaign videos and tweeting false or misleading claims about his loss to President-elect Biden. Tonight, he posted this: "Nobody wants to report that Pennsylvania and Michigan didn't allow our poll watchers and/or vote observers to watch or observe. This is responsible for hundreds of thousands of votes that should not be allowed to count. Therefore, I easily win both states. Report the news." Earlier today, the president made his first public appearance in nearly a week at Arlington National Cemetery in honor of Veterans Day. He was there for less than 10 minutes and made no remarks. Also there, the new acting Secretary of Defense, Christopher Miller. On Monday, Trump abruptly fired Defense Secretary Mark Esper, raising questions about national security. And now the president is stacking the Pentagon with loyalists, including Anthony Tata, a retired general who has promoted conspiracy theories, and Kash Patel, a former aide to California Republican Congressman Devin Nunes.
We're going to win the whole thing.
The president is even attacking election officials in his own party. On Twitter, he went after the Republican City Commissioner of Philadelphia, Al Schmidt, who has said there is no evidence of election fraud. Schmidt says he and his staff are now getting death threats and require police protection.
That nothing disrupts, nothing slows down or gets in the way of us certifying this election.
As votes across the country continue to be counted, President-elect Biden continues to build on his record-setting lead in the popular vote. Biden, too, paid tribute to veterans in Philadelphia. As Trump refuses to concede, new national security issues continue to be raised. Former White House chiefs of staff Andy Card and John Podesta argued a delayed transition put American lives at risk, pointing to the 9/11 Commission's finding that the delayed transition during the 2000 Florida recount hampered the Bush administration's ability to put key officials in place ahead of the attacks. Card was part of that Bush administration.
My greatest fear is that someone would try to take advantage of the disruption of knowledge transfer.
Biden's lead in key states continues to grow. In Georgia, he now leads by around 14,000 votes. A hand recount is planned in the state, but the recount is unlikely to change the outcome.
Every voter will have confidence in the outcome whether their candidate won or lost.
All eyes are on Georgia as both Senate seats are headed to runoffs on January 5th. Who wins the seats will determine the Senate majority. Florida Senator Marco Rubio was in Georgia today campaigning to a packed indoor crowd where many were not wearing masks.
This is literally, the showdown of all showdowns in terms of politics and what it means.
President Trump has not mentioned the surging coronavirus except to take credit for a vaccine, which may soon be released. The White House Coronavirus Task Force met Monday, but CBS sources say nothing of substance has happened for weeks as the administration has been distracted by the election.
There's a viral killer going on in each of our communities. If it were an army with guns, you can be sure we would be focused on it. Why aren't we focused on this virus?
Biden's transition team is not being given access to key government health agencies and data because President Trump refuses to concede. Biden met with his own COVID task force this week, but is being blocked from coordinating with government experts such as Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert. Live in the newsroom, I'm Tom Wade. Juan, back to you.